Oil. It's the lifeblood of modern civilization. It fuels our transportation and powers our industries. Our world is shaped by it. But behind the convenience lies a complex story. It's a story of immense wealth and political influence. And it's a story of a profound impact on the planet. Today, Flawless Finance delves into the labyrinth of big oil. We will explore how these powerful corporations have influenced governments, and we will see how they have shaped energy policy for decades. Our journey will take us from the oil fields to the halls of power. We will meet the people whose lives have been impacted by this industry. Get ready to uncover the truth about big oil. Prepare to be shocked by their influence and discover how their actions are affecting our planet. This is the story of oil, power, and the future of our planet. This is Hyper Reality 101. What's real anymore?
The inception of the oil industry was marked by an era of exploration and roughneck innovation. Men toiled under harsh conditions, driven by the promise of prosperity that black gold represented. It was during this time that the groundwork of our modern dependency on oil was laid, with the establishment of the first commercial oil well in Pennsylvania in 1859. The discovery of oil brought with it a frenzy of activity. Towns sprang up overnight around new wells, and the landscape of American enterprise was forever altered. This period was not just about the physical extraction of oil, but also about the germination of the colossal entities that would come to dominate the global stage. As these enterprises grew, so too did their influence. The burgeoning oil industry attracted not only those with a penchant for hard work and risk, but also those with visions of empire. These were the first titans of oil, whose legacies would shape economies, policies, and lives on a scale previously unimaginable. The narrative of these early days is a tapestry woven with threads of innovation, ambition, and the relentless pursuit of wealth. It sets the stage for a saga that encapsulates the best and worst of human endeavor, a prelude to the complex relationship between mankind and its insatiable thirst for oil.
As the 19th century progressed, figures like John D. Rockefeller began to solidify their foothold within the oil industry. Rockefeller, with his keen sense of business and strategy, founded Standard Oil in 1870. His approach wasn't just about dominating the oil market, it was about creating an integrated system that controlled every aspect of the oil business, from extraction to transportation to refining. Under Rockefeller's guidance, Standard Oil implemented practices that were both innovative and ruthless. They negotiated secret deals with railroads to secure cheaper shipping rates, a move that allowed them to undercut competitors drastically. This not only cemented Standard Oil's position in the market, but also sparked significant controversy over business ethics. Meanwhile, other magnates like J. Paul Getty and the founders of what would become ExxonMobil were beginning to make their marks. These individuals saw the limitless potential of oil not just as a commodity, but as a cornerstone of global influence and power. The stage was set for a century of unprecedented growth. The strategies deployed by these early titans would lay the foundational business models that the oil industry would continue to use for decades. Their impact on the global economy and geopolitics was just beginning to unfold. The intertwining of oil and politics began almost as soon as the oil began flowing. Recognizing the strategic importance of oil, the titans of the industry did not hesitate to extend their influence into the political arena. This was a time when business and politics began a symbiotic relationship that would shape policies and governance at both national and international levels. In the United States, oil barons used their wealth to sway political figures and lobby for favorable legislation. This was not merely about securing a business advantage, it was about creating a legal and economic environment where their enterprises could thrive unimpeded by competition or regulation. Globally, the reach of oil politics expanded as companies sought to secure oil reserves in foreign lands. This often involved complex negotiations with local leaders, or in some instances, the support of coups and dictatorial regimes favorable to their interests. The ethics of these actions were frequently questionable, but the pursuit of oil seemed to justify means that would otherwise be unacceptable. The power dynamics established during this era set a precedent for decades. The oil industry's influence over politics was not just a phase, but a deeply entrenched aspect of its operation. This relationship raised questions about sovereignty, ethics, and the true cost of oil that are still being debated today.
John D. Rockefeller's influence on the oil industry is legendary. His strategies reshaped the economic landscape, but his reach extended beyond mere business tactics. Rockefeller was a pioneer in shaping public perception and using philanthropy to mitigate the potentially negative views of his business practices. Through strategic donations and the establishment of charitable organizations, Rockefeller attempted to soften the public image of Standard Oil. His philanthropic efforts were seen by many as an attempt to launder his often criticized business reputation. Yet, these efforts also contributed significantly to education, science, and the arts. Moreover, Rockefeller's approach to business was methodical and calculated. He was not just creating a business empire, he was crafting an economic system that was intertwined with societal structures. His influence was so profound that it prompted significant government investigations and eventually led to the breakup of Standard Oil under antitrust laws. This legacy of Rockefeller is twofold. On one hand, he is seen as a visionary who set standards for corporate growth and philanthropy. On the other, his methods invoked the scrutiny and criticism of those who saw him as a monopolist who manipulated systems for personal gain.
Section 5, the Getty Legacy.
As Big Oil sought new horizons, its gaze turned inevitably towards the untouched, resource-rich frontiers of the world. These areas, often remote and underdeveloped, offered vast reserves of oil and natural gas that were ripe for exploitation. The initial encounters were marked by a collision of worlds, the industrial might of multinational corporations meeting the traditional ways of indigenous peoples and pristine environments. The companies came equipped with advanced technology and a relentless pursuit of profit. This expansion was not just about physical boundaries, but also about pushing the limits of corporate influence and control. As they encroached upon these new frontiers, they brought with them a wave of economic activity that would forever alter the socio-economic landscapes of these regions. However, this expansion was not without its consequences. The environmental degradation caused by drilling operations began to raise alarm among local and international observers. The disruption to local communities, particularly indigenous populations, sparked debates about the moral responsibilities of these corporate giants. As the narrative of oil exploration continued to unfold, it became a tale of modern conquest and controversy. The quest for oil had become a double-edged sword, offering economic development on one hand and environmental and social upheaval on the other.
Africa, with its vast natural resources, became a focal point for oil companies looking to expand their global footprint. Countries like Nigeria, Angola, and Libya, rich in oil reserves, attracted the attention of the world's largest oil corporations. These companies, often in partnership with local governments, embarked on large-scale extraction projects that promised economic growth and development. In many cases, the arrival of big oil was seen as a boon for local economies. It brought jobs, infrastructure, and foreign investment. However, the reality was often more complex. The wealth generated by oil extraction frequently benefited a select few, leading to increased wealth disparities, and sometimes even contributing to political corruption and instability. Moreover, the environmental cost of oil operations in these regions was profound. Oil spills, gas flaring, and the destruction of habitats became common issues, with dire consequences for local communities and wildlife. The promise of economic prosperity was overshadowed by the growing outcry over environmental and health impacts. This phase of African expansion highlighted the ethical and economic dilemmas faced by host countries. It posed the question, at what cost does this development come, and who truly benefits from the extraction of Africa's natural resources?
The lure of South America's vast oil reserves also drew the eyes of Big Oil. Countries like Venezuela, Brazil, and Ecuador became battlegrounds where the interests of oil magnates clashed with those of environmentalists and indigenous groups. The Amazon rainforest in particular became a symbol of this conflict, representing both immense biodiversity and untapped oil reserves. In Ecuador, the legacy of oil extraction has been particularly contentious. The environmental damage caused by decades of oil exploration has led to long-standing legal battles. Indigenous communities have fought tirelessly against both the government and multinational corporations to protect their ancestral lands and the health of their ecosystems. The story of oil in South America is not just a tale of economic exploitation, but also of resistance. Environmental activists and indigenous leaders have become increasingly vocal and organized, challenging the practices of big oil and advocating for sustainable alternatives. This ongoing struggle reflects a broader global narrative about the rights of indigenous peoples and the responsibilities of those who seek to profit from the Earth's resources. It underscores the need for a balanced approach to resource extraction, one that respects the environment and the rights of local communities.
The Middle East, known for its rich deposits of oil, has long been the epicenter of global energy dynamics. The discovery of oil in places like Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Iraq in the early 20th century transformed these countries and shaped international relations for decades to come. Big Oil's involvement in the region brought with it a web of political relationships and economic dependencies. The partnerships between Western oil companies and Middle Eastern states were often lucrative but fraught with geopolitical tensions. The control over oil resources became a powerful political tool, influencing everything from international diplomacy to regional conflicts. These relationships also sparked debates about sovereignty and the exploitation of natural resources. As the world increasingly acknowledges the need for sustainable energy sources, the role of the Middle East in the global oil market is also evolving. While the region continues to be a major player in oil production, there is growing pressure to diversify economies and reduce dependency on oil revenues. This transition poses significant challenges, but also offers opportunities for innovation and development. The future of the Middle East's oil industry is inextricably linked to global energy trends and the shifting demands of an increasingly environmentally conscious world.
Section 5, the Russian Ventures.
The acknowledgement of the climate crisis by Big Oil marked a significant pivot in the narrative surrounding these industrial giants. For decades, these companies had either downplayed or outright denied the impacts of fossil fuels on global warming. However, recent years have seen a shift, with major oil corporations publicly recognizing the reality of climate change and its potential catastrophic consequences. This change can be attributed to a combination of scientific irrefutability, public pressure, and the undeniable physical manifestations of climate change, such as increased frequency and severity of weather events. These factors converge to create an environment where denial was no longer viable, pushing Big Oil towards an acknowledgement that could reshape their business models and operational philosophies. With this acknowledgement comes a responsibility that these corporations are still grappling with: how to transition from being part of the problem to becoming a part of the solution. This question looms large as we delve deeper into the responses and strategies of these oil behemoths in the face of a warming world. The stakes are high, not only for the planet but for the companies themselves. Failure to adapt could not only result in environmental catastrophe, but could also lead to financial and reputational ruin. Thus, the acknowledgement of the climate crisis by Big Oil is both a moral and strategic shift in the narrative of global energy.
Following their acknowledgement of the climate crisis, several big oil companies have made public commitments to environmental sustainability. These commitments often include pledges to reduce carbon emissions, increase investment in renewable energy sources, and improve energy efficiency across operations. The announcements are usually grand, designed to capture the goodwill of the public and stakeholders. Critics, however, question the sincerity and practicality of these commitments. They argue that many of these initiatives are more about image management than substantive change. The term greenwashing, the practice of making misleading claims about the environmental benefits of a product or company, is frequently used in this context, yet these commitments are not without their merits. Some companies have begun integrating solar and wind energy into their operations, and others are investing in carbon capture and storage technology. These are not insignificant steps, and they reflect a growing recognition within the industry of the need to adapt to a changing world. The effectiveness of these environmental commitments ultimately depends on their implementation and the transparency with which they are pursued. As the world watches closely, the pressure mounts on big oil to turn their promises into action, making genuine strides towards sustainability. One of the key strategies embraced by big oil in addressing their carbon footprint is investing in carbon capture and storage, or CCS technology. CCS involves capturing carbon dioxide emissions from sources like power plants and then transporting it to a storage site where it is deposited deep underground in rock formations. This technology is crucial for mitigating the impact of existing fossil fuel infrastructure on the climate. Several leading oil companies have launched CCS projects, heralding them as pivotal to achieving their environmental commitments. These projects vary in scale and sophistication, and they often involve partnerships with governments, research institutions, and other industries. Despite the potential of CCS, the technology faces several challenges. It is costly, energy-intensive, and not yet proven at the scale required to significantly dent global carbon emissions. Critics also argue that CCS could perpetuate the reliance on fossil fuels, delaying the transition to renewable energy sources. Nevertheless, the investment in CCS represents a significant area of research and development for big oil, highlighting their role in innovating technologies that could help bridge the gap between current energy systems and a more sustainable future. The success of these ventures could play a crucial role in the global response to climate change.
Investment in renewable energy is becoming an increasingly important part of big oil's strategy for the future. This shift is driven by both the growing demand for greener energy solutions and the recognition that the long-term viability of their business depends on transitioning away from fossil fuels. Major oil companies have started to allocate significant portions of their capital expenditure to renewable energy projects, including wind, solar, and bioenergy. These investments are not just about creating a greener portfolio, but are also seen as essential for driving future growth. The expansion into renewables is accompanied by strategic partnerships with technology firms and acquisitions of established renewable energy companies. This strategy allows big oil to leverage existing expertise and infrastructure, accelerating their own transition to clean energy providers. While these investments mark a positive step forward, the scale compared to their investments in oil and gas is still modest. For big oil to truly transform into leaders of sustainable energy, these investments need to grow significantly, matching their rhetoric with robust action and financial commitment.
The role of public perception in shaping big oil's response to the climate crisis cannot be understated. In an era where information is readily accessible and global awareness about environmental issues is high, public opinion has emerged as a powerful force influencing corporate behavior.
The future of energy stands at a pivotal crossroads. The decisions made today will resonate for generations to come. Big oil, with its immense resources and global reach, faces a critical choice: cling to the diminishing returns of a fossil-fueled past or embrace the transformative potential of a sustainable energy future. The path forward is fraught with complexities. The transition to renewable energy requires a fundamental shift in infrastructure, technology, and economic models. It demands bold leadership and a willingness to challenge the status quo. Yet, the potential rewards are immense. By investing heavily in renewable energy sources, big oil can position itself at the forefront of a global energy revolution. They can create new jobs, stimulate economic growth, and secure their legacy as responsible stewards of the planet. The world is watching. The time for half measures and greenwashing is over. Big oil must choose its path wisely, for the future of our planet hangs in the balance.
The transition to a sustainable energy future is not merely an environmental imperative, it is an economic opportunity of unprecedented scale. Big Oil, with its vast expertise in energy production, infrastructure development, and global operations, is uniquely positioned to capitalize on this transformative moment. Imagine a future where oil rigs are transformed into offshore wind farms, where pipelines transport green hydrogen instead of fossil fuels, and where refineries are repurposed to produce biofuels and sustainable aviation fuels. This is not a utopian fantasy, but a tangible vision within reach. By embracing innovation and investing in cutting-edge technologies, Big Oil can lead the charge in developing and deploying the energy solutions of tomorrow. They can create a cleaner, more sustainable world while simultaneously unlocking new markets and generating sustainable profits. The potential for transformation is immense. Big Oil has the resources, the expertise, and the global reach to make a real difference. The question is, will they seize this opportunity or remain tethered to a fading paradigm?
The responsibility for creating a sustainable energy future does not rest solely on the shoulders of Big Oil. Governments, businesses, communities, and individuals all have a crucial role to play in driving the transition to a low-carbon world. Governments must implement policies that incentivize renewable energy production, phase out fossil fuel subsidies, and invest in sustainable infrastructure. Businesses must adopt sustainable practices, reduce their carbon footprint, and support the development of clean technologies. Communities can embrace energy efficiency measures, promote sustainable transportation options, and support local renewable energy projects. Individuals can make conscious choices to reduce their own carbon footprint through their consumption habits, transportation choices, and advocacy efforts. The challenges we face are complex and interconnected, but the power of collective action is undeniable. By working together, we can create a cleaner, healthier, and more sustainable future for all.
Imagine a world where the air is clean, the skies are blue, and the threat of climate change no longer looms over our heads. A world where energy is abundant, affordable, and accessible to all, powered by the sun, wind, water, and the Earth's natural heat. This is the promise of a sustainable tomorrow, a future where we have successfully transitioned away from our dependence on fossil fuels and embraced a cleaner, more equitable energy system. A future where economic prosperity goes hand in hand with environmental stewardship. This future is within our grasp, but it requires a fundamental shift in our thinking and our actions. We must move beyond the short-term, profit-driven mentality that has brought us to this point and embrace a long-term vision of sustainability and shared prosperity. The journey will not be easy, but the destination is worth fighting for. Let us work together to create a sustainable tomorrow, for ourselves, for our children, and for generations to come.
The choices we make today will determine the course of our planet's future. Every barrel of oil we extract, every ton of coal we burn, and every cubic meter of natural gas we consume releases greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, accelerating the pace of climate change. The consequences of inaction are dire. Rising sea levels, extreme weather events, droughts, famines, mass migrations, and global conflict are just some of the potential impacts of a warming world. The very fabric of our civilization is at stake. But we are not powerless to change course. We have the knowledge, the technology, and the resources to avert the worst effects of climate change and create a more sustainable future. What we lack is the political will and the collective determination to act. The time for complacency is over. The future of our planet depends on the choices we make today. Let us choose wisely, for the weight of our decisions will be felt for generations to come.
For too long, Big Oil has operated with impunity. prioritizing profits over the well-being of people and the planet. They have engaged in misinformation campaigns, lobbied against climate action, and exploited vulnerable communities in their relentless pursuit of fossil fuels. It is time to hold these corporations accountable for their actions. We must demand transparency in their operations, stricter environmental regulations, and a swift transition to renewable energy sources. We must no longer allow them to profit from the destruction of our planet. Governments around the world must stand up to the influence of the fossil fuel industry and prioritize the needs of their citizens and the health of the planet. They must invest in renewable energy, promote energy efficiency, and enact policies that accelerate the transition to a low-carbon economy. The era of fossil fuel dominance is coming to an end. The future belongs to clean, renewable energy. Let us work together to ensure a just and equitable transition to a sustainable energy future, one that leaves no one behind.
The challenges we face are daunting, but they are not insurmountable. The human spirit is one of resilience, innovation, and collaboration. Throughout history, we have overcome seemingly impossible odds to achieve remarkable feats. The transition to a sustainable energy future is an opportunity to rewrite our relationship with the planet and with each other. It's a chance to build a more just, equitable, and prosperous world for all. Let us embrace this challenge with courage, determination, and a shared sense of purpose. Let us harness the power of human ingenuity to develop innovative solutions, create new industries, and build a cleaner, healthier, and more sustainable world. The future is ours to create. Let us shape a brighter tomorrow together.
We stand at a pivotal moment in human history. The choices we make today will determine the fate of our planet and the well-being of generations to come. The time for debate is over. The time for action is now. We must act boldly, decisively, and collectively to transition away from fossil fuels and embrace a sustainable energy future. We must demand accountability from our leaders, hold corporations responsible for their actions, and empower individuals to make a difference. The transition to a low-carbon economy will not be easy, but it is essential. It is the defining challenge of our time, and it is a challenge we must overcome. Let us rise to the occasion. Let us be the generation that ends our reliance on fossil fuels and ushers in a new era of sustainable prosperity. Let us bequeath to our children a planet worthy of their dreams. The time for action is now.